Welcome to the Daily Objective, day 141 of the war in Israel. I'm joined by Yonatan Daon, who you know from the reality show. Today we are going to debate Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu. Specifically, we're going to debate whether or not he should remain Prime Minister for now or he should resign today or yesterday. We disagree on this, hence it's a debate. We come at it from the same philosophical perspective, which I think makes it more interesting than it would otherwise be. So, Jonathan, because you are taking the wrong side of this, I'm going to let you have the first and last words.
Thank you, Razi. It's most appreciated. First, I would like to reiterate that I don't speak for my employer, and those are my own views. Should be important because this is a matter of controversy. The first thing that I should stress is Netanyahu should have resigned on October 7th, on October 8th, maximum October 9th. But the fact we are having this debate on the context of we are in this unique situation. So his 16-year reign is indeed been a catastrophic disaster in the sense that October 7th is the culmination of his policy towards dealing with Israel's external threats. So in that aspect, it is indeed his full responsibility, and for that he should face the consequences. That is, he should be resigned, if not face criminal charges. Now, as my argument comes from the perspective that as things are right now, we are heading in the right direction. And the opposition to Netanyahu, Gantz and Lapid, are offering a much worse alternative. So this is kind of a utilitarian argument. It's not strictly philosophical issue. I don't think. I think it's more of a practical implementation of under a very specific scenario. That's why I don't think it's strictly a matter of abstract philosophy. Now, despite all the international pressure, and despite all the chaos that ensues inside Israel and outside, Netanyahu has seemed to, surprisingly, I think to many people, to stay on the course of victory. We have the Israeli military has invaded the Khan Yunis, has conquered Khan Yunis, conquered Gaza, and is now on the road towards Rafah, which is surprising, I think, and is a very positive thing. Now, Gantz and Lapid, they offer a ceasefire. They want to negotiate. They want to make a deal. They want to save the hostages first. And Netanyahu and his cabinet are saying we want victory. We want Hamas to be annihilated. Now, granted, they are doing it not in an ideal way, far from it. Too many civilians, too many Gazan civilians' lives have been saved for the purpose of, let me say that differently. Too many IDF soldiers have been sacrificed for the purpose of saving innocent Palestinian lives, and that's wrong. That's a terrible thing. But again, we are Israel is a smaller power, and there are lots of international pressures. We don't have the military capabilities to produce our own ammunition, etc., etc. Netanyahu is doing everything, as I see it right now, towards the right path. Insofar as we're heading towards Rafah, then I say he should stay in power and finish his job, get the victory, and then go home. The moment he's saying we're making a deal, the moment he's saying we're stopping, we're not going to Rafah, he should go immediately. So basically that's my case. And an interesting thing is, if he manages to secure victory, it will be, in a sense, salvation for him personally. Despite all the terrible things he has done, if he manages to get this one good thing, then it will be kind of salvation for him, and he could go and not be a complete disastrous legacy. So I think that's the main thing.
All right, so some things we agree on. First of all, I don't think, the fact that Israel is sacrificing way too many soldiers to protect the enemy, I agree with you, and I agree with you that there's no other potential leader, nobody in politics who's likely enough to become prime minister who would do significantly less of that. They would all do that. They would all say this is why we're the most moral army in the world, because we're sending our soldiers to die to protect the enemy or the civilians that the enemy is hiding behind. So yeah, nobody would do a better, necessarily more of what we would like to see, which is attacking, killing the enemy while protecting civilians and soldiers on our side, and without much regard for civilians on the other side, which is what I think we'd both like to see, and we're not going to. But hearing you said we're heading in the right direction, and that to me, when I hear that, I think of this as the Israeli people's kind of Stockholm syndrome of bad policy. We're so used to bad policy by Israel that the fact that now Israel is doing what it's doing in Gaza, which is a lot more than it has ever done before, seems like it's good. And again, it's better. It's definitely better than nothing. But it's Israel is doing much more because October 7th happened and happened the way that it happened. No leader could have done significantly less than Netanyahu is doing. Nobody. They would, the protests we see here and there is nothing compared to what they would have faced. So this is, um, we're not headed in the right direction. The right direction would have been to attack properly on October 7th or 8th. And as you said, that's when Netanyahu should have gone. Let's also remember that, in Israeli, when I look at Israeli media nowadays, they, right after October 7th, they were all united about the need for military action. Now they seem to be united about the need to give Hamas whatever they want in exchange for the hostages. Netanyahu is playing along with that. I mean, he's negotiating. The very fact that he's negotiating with the people who did October 7th is a breach of what he said on October 7th, which is we are at war and the goal is the destruction of Hamas. Hamas will no longer exist. So are we headed in the right direction in the sense of will Hamas no longer exist? Is that still the policy of Netanyahu? The fact that there's this operation in Rafah looks like it might happen, that's not a good thing. What would be a good thing is not to even have that conversation. What would be a good thing is for this operation to have happened immediately. Again, ideally from the air, but if not from the air, then immediately. Every second that passes, Hamas regroups. Just like every second that passed after October 7th, Hamas was preparing for Israel's ground operation, and the soldiers who died are in part a result of that. So, but the main reason Netanyahu should go is because of, yeah, like you said, he's been a failure all along. And so it doesn't actually matter what the next person does in the context of Netanyahu. Netanyahu should go because of Netanyahu's leadership, which is the worst in Israel's history, which brought about October 7th. The mastermind of October 7th was released by Netanyahu in an exchange, for a soldier, and Netanyahu is now about to do that again. So Netanyahu should go because of who he is and what he has done, without regard for what Israel would do or what his replacement would do.
Absolutely, he should go, but he should go the minute this ends. He should go the minute he achieves victory. And if he's not achieving victory, then even the military should go and kick him out. Even I'm for a military coup in such a scenario, and I think it's a likely scenario. I think he might be very afraid from the military, because you see in the soldiers that are on the ground in Gaza, they're refusing to stop. They're refusing to. There have been some attempts to make them, retreat, and they refused. And so I think in that sense, he's kind of he's kind of a hostage by the military, by the soldiers themselves. They want to push the Israeli people. They want to push towards victory. So I think he cannot really stop. And also this is a matter of if he's stopping, Israel has no future. And I think he understands that Israel is done. If we stop at Rafah, Israel that's it. Like there's no chances of safety for anyone in the south, let alone the north. So I think he has to achieve victory, and insofar he's on the road to achieving it, let him achieve it. I don't think it will fly with any alternative, because you have the Americans, you have the Europeans. They won't give you ammunition. Israel is dependent on ammunition from the Americans. we depend economically on the Europeans. If we anger them too much, then it won't really help us towards Rafah. And he has actually stated that Israel needs to be more independent in terms of ammunition, which, as we've seen, is a major problem. So I think he needs to finish the job. And also there's a system kind of when you're in the midst of war. How many days did you say? 140? How many days is that? So to change the leadership randomly at 140 days and to cause that, there needs to be transition. We don't have time for that. We're in a life or death scenario, and we just have to march forward so far as we are actually marching forward. So I don't think we really have a choice at this stage. And as much as I'd love it for it to be somebody else, I don't see him. Do you see anyone from the Likud party? Do you want to have an election right now? Well, imagine what the campaigns will look like right now in the midst of a war, having an election. How do you even see this process of transitioning to a different figure? I agree he should resign, and when the war started, and let somebody else from the Likud party take over. But even that, I'm not sure if it will be better. So it's a sad. We're in a very sorrow state everywhere in the world, even in London. It is what it is. I'm not advocating for him. Like, I'm passionate about him. I don't think he's good, but it is what it is.
So just quickly on how the transition would work. I don't know. I would think it would have to be somebody from the Likud. No, I would not support an election right now because it's a time of war. So it would have to be somebody from his party, which has the majority or has the most number of seats. And yeah, how smooth the transition is, that would be the last piece of his legacy. If it's smooth enough, then at least the last thing he did would have been good. Now, the thing about we're dependent on others, I agree with that to some extent. But here's the thing, Netanyahu knew that, and I encourage people to go back to my tweet from October 8th or 9th, or 8th, I think it was, when I said that Netanyahu knows that Israel is not going to have the support of anybody for very long and should act in a very decisive way immediately. It was somebody, got it was Tzvi Ginzberg, a commentator in Israeli media, got in trouble for saying Israel should have killed 100,000 Palestinians on October 7th. I mean, I think he should have gotten in trouble for that because the number is too low. But yeah, Netanyahu should have acted on October 7th. That was the day to act. And if not, then October 8th. And if you really, for whatever reason are hesitating, by October 9th, there's no more excuse. The only excuse Netanyahu has is because he knew he could go to the Israeli people and say, look, yeah, I'm with you. We should destroy them, but Biden won't let me. Remember, Biden immediately said that he is immediately sent an aircraft carrier, which was, according to reports, the reason Hezbollah didn't attack from the north, which of course would have been a war that Israel would probably have lost if the attack had come from those two fronts. So again, Netanyahu is the reason the attack happened. He's the reason the response was insufficient, and now we're saying he's the reason. What he's doing is because of the Americans. Yeah, all of that is true, and all of that is his fault. Now, in terms of who replaces him, I have brought up this story on the channel in the past of how when I lived in Israel. I think I spoke about this yesterday. I lived in Israel in 2002, where in March, terrorist attacks were happening daily. And a part of the military response of Israel was to surround the Muqata'a, where Yasser Arafat lived, surround it with tanks and not do anything. And I used to argue with people and say, why are we not killing him? And they would say somebody worse would come along. And it doesn't matter. Arafat deserved to die. Netanyahu deserves to not be prime minister. Let's not take it further than that. And yeah, what happens next? We will judge the next leader, and if they're bad, they should also go. Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I don't think it's not just a matter he needs to go right now. It's a very complicated situation, Razi. We're in a very, very weird and paradoxical situation where I'm now right now having a debate with you, claiming that Netanyahu is the good option. Like it's weird, right? Where are we? What kind of world do we live in? But that's just the way it is. Just but and I think like you do need to give him credit where it's due. He has withstand all that pressure. He has withstand all the, you know what's going on here right now. It's Saturday in Israel. There are protests of the hostages families. There are lots of people from the radical left. They want to stop the war. They're saying we're killing too many Palestinian Gazans. I hear that from Israelis. There's so much stuff, and yet we seem to be still in Khan Yunis. So I don't. Again, he's the leader right now. That's just the way it is. So, and I also wanted to it shouldn't get that much credit. As I'm saying, most of the credit should go to the military, should go to, and it should go to the defense minister Gantz, not Gantz, sorry, Gallant, who's also been surprisingly good and very serious about this. He's very determined, and he's just talking very aggressively. I like the way he talks. So I think you should also give them credit. And so far the direction seems fine. Seems fine. We're on the way to the Rafah. Yeah, I'd like Rafah to be flattened already, but it's not going to happen with anyone. Right, Razi? So what can we do? What can we do?
So, I mean, look, the left-wing protests, okay, there are people protesting, but look, it's not a significant part of the population. Most of the population supports military action still. By the way, Gallant, I know Yaron Brook would disagree with me, but I think of the choices you have now, I would probably go for Gallant, until just to finish the war and then have an election. He did want to attack Hezbollah preemptively on October 7th, and Netanyahu stopped him. I think he's generally not as bad. He is a general, which I agree with Yaron on that. That's not the kind of person you want. He's a part of what created the problem. But right now, him or Bibi, I think that's an easy choice. I want to get to some of the chat comments. So we have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you. And Bonnie also has a comment as a member. She's been a member for 21 months. She asks, did Netanyahu give a reason for not attacking by air? I mean, generally his reason is, Israel generally prides itself on avoiding civilian casualties, even at the cost of its own soldiers. And so, yes, that is the reason for that. Few other comments that I want to quickly get to. Douglas says Hamas would never have dared. I don't even know if I want to read this because this opens up a whole can of worms. And it's not a super chat, but but Douglas has super chatted and he's a member. Hamas would never have dared attack Israel on October 7th if Trump was still president. Absolute bullshit. Hamas attacked all the time when Trump was president. Trump was the most friendly president, U.S. president to dictators in U.S. history. There's never been somebody who loved dictators so much, and it's because of his power lust and his desire to be like them. I mean, he'd love to be to the U.S. what Kim Jong-un, who he admires, is to North Korea. So no, look, Trump. Part of what Trump is he's so unstable and so emotionally driven that it could be that somebody would say something about him and then he would support Israel, but it could also be that Netanyahu calls the winner of the election after the election happens, as leaders do, and Trump is upset about that. And remember, right after October 7th, his first thing to do that he did was criticize Israel. So no, I would not trust Trump. And of course, if you are watching from the U.S. and voting, you should be voting on foreign policy, and you should be voting for absolutely should be voting for Nikki Haley.
Just a comment on that. If you think that Yihya Sinwar cares about who the president of the United States is, you are completely delusional.
Yeah. And by the way, Biden's policy on Israel is terrible and getting worse almost by the minute, but it was better in the days after October 7th. And this is why I go back to what Israel should have done on October 7th. It was better in the days after than anything I ever remember from any US president. Sending an aircraft carrier is a massive deal, and Netanyahu threw that opportunity away. So no, it is
All the ammunition that we're, thanks to it, we're still fighting, right?
yeah. So I completely understand the opposition to Biden. I have zero understanding for why anybody would support Trump, and I do think he's worse than Biden. Esther says Ben Gvir should replace him. Look, Ben Gvir probably militarily would do much better than Netanyahu. But do we want a theocracy in Israel? Do we want Israel to be like a Jewish Iran? Not really. I'd want Ben Gvir's probably military policy, but if we can have it with somebody who is secular or secularish, that would be good. Robert, thank you for the super chat. Robert says you're on an airplane and you determine the only pilot is unprofessional and untrustworthy. You're still going to wait to throw him out until you land. Well, this is why airplanes always have, a co-pilot, at least one co-pilot. And no, this is
But Israel is a small plane, Razi. Israel is like a Cessna. It's not a
well, Cessnas crash all the time. That's why Israel should stop thinking like a Cessna and start thinking like an A380 and have a couple of co-pilots. But no, I mean, look, planes land, even without pilots on occasion, somebody can take over and get air traffic controls help. But absolutely no. Again, every day that Netanyahu stays in office, you're rewarding his failures. So I
think it's that
disagree with Robert, as
enjoyable to
I
be
often
in
do.
his position, Razi. I don't think it's the most enjoyable work that he's doing right now. I think it's imagine waking up and dealing with a war. I don't think it's really rewarding. I think it kind of sucks. I think to have all that responsibility on your head, but I don't think it's a big.
I'm with you. I would not want to be prime minister of Israel either, but Netanyahu does want to be prime minister. I mean, he's that's why he's been trying to be prime minister and being prime minister for he's been in one or the other of the positions for over 30 years. So yeah, and you see this. I saw some of the recent argument in one of the among the government ministers in Israel, and I think this is really, this is not quality humans typically who go into
Right.
politics. It's not quality people. So yeah, when you say who's better, well, somebody is hopefully less bad, or at least doesn't have the track record of failure that he deserves to pay for, that Netanyahu has, and Douglas, thank you for the generous super chat. Douglas says, Razi, boy, are you wrong about Trump, but if we agreed 100% of the time on all issues, I wouldn't be necessary. I'm sure Hamas attacked Israel more times under Obama. If I'm wrong, prove it. I don't remember the numbers. Hamas attacks. I don't, again, like I agree with Yonatan, that Hamas, doesn't care who is the US president. And again, Democrats and Republicans on Israel are not that different. And now I think we're seeing elements. We talked yesterday on this show about Rashida Tlaib, which is something that's unprecedented in US politics until recent years. But Trump is also something that's unprecedented. And he, the result of him is people like Tucker Carlson, or maybe he's the result of Tucker, I don't know. But yeah, people, so there's enough elements on the right who are anti-Israel now as well.
A lot,
So
a lot.
yes, I am glad you're here, Douglas, and I like the back and forth, as I'm glad that Jonathan is here, even though he's as wrong as you are.
Don't compare me to a person who supports Trump, but not to offend the Douglas, but no, I again, they don't care. These are Islamic fundamentalists. They don't care who's in the US. They burn US flags as they burn Israel flags. You think they care? They are suicidal. They want to reach heaven and to go to the 72 virgins. They don't care about Trump.
Yeah, and look, 9/11 happened under a Republican, and I even back then, I still wonder, would a Democrat there's something that I've seen in Israel, in Israeli politics, that when the left, the center left, let's say, is in power, they know that they're considered weak on national security, so they try to do more, kind of like in the UK when conservatives are seen as weak on social issues where the mainstream is left, they move to the left. The conservative government in the UK, as I've said on this show, has on every economic policy gone to the left of Labour, who was in power before. They're the ones who introduced things like changing your gender in your retroactively in your birth certificate. So yeah. Look, there are issues. It's it's so easy to side with the right when you're spending much time looking at the left, just like it's easy to side with the left when you're spending much time looking at the right. They're both very bad. I'm sorry to be so pessimistic, but yeah, if you look at there is no good, yeah, across the political spectrum. I think the journey towards any good in politics starts with philosophy, and it's a very long journey.
Very, very long journey. You have to, as I've said in the reality show, you have to go deep into philosophy. It's not a matter of personalities, it's a matter of ideas. Who holds the right ideas? And nobody holds the right ideas. Who is for individual rights? That's what you should be looking at, and nobody is.
Douglas says, wrong again, Razi. CPAC is fully behind Israel, while DNC is very shaky on Israel. Look, it's ultimately, I don't want to defend the Democrats because I don't like them, but the political machine in the Democratic Party is such that you'll hear these voices, but they don't influence policy that much. The policy of the Democrats, again, I don't think it's very different from what it was under certainly George W. Bush. George Bush criticized Israel when it went on the ground operation in 2002. First, Israel had America's full support because there were daily terrorist attacks. Then it lost the support because it killed some Palestinians. And yeah, that America is consistent across party lines on that. They support Israel, but nominally. Um, uh, MB, thank you for the super chat. MB says, if you know Israeli politics, Moshe Feiglin should be the leader if Israel, and then I don't see the rest of that sentence, but yes, I would, no, Yonatan has more Feiglin experience than I do. I mean, I agree with what Feiglin says on the conflict. Let's put it that way. But Yonatan.
Absolutely, he's great on the conflict. Absolutely, but his reasons are completely crazy. He wants to build the temple. That's his dream. That's his life. That's what he fantasizes about. That we will have. He's fantasizing about building. It's just so crazy when what he actually believes. He's not just saying it. He genuinely wants to build a temple on Jerusalem. So you don't want a leader like that. You don't want somebody with the fundamental religious views. You want somebody who's grounded in reality. And yeah, he's good on Gaza, but you don't want that kind of person. He's unpredictable.
Yeah, and this is another problem in Israeli politics. If you talk about who would be good in terms of their military response, it is usually Messianic Jews who you do not want in power. So give me the choice between Ben Gvir and Feiglin. I will choose Feiglin.
Yeah,
Wait, so right now, Yonatan, you have to choose between Netanyahu and Feiglin. Are you choosing Netanyahu?
I'm choosing Feiglin right now.
Yeah, me too. I think Iran Brook would disagree with that as well. I hope he's not watching, but
I don't
yeah.
think he's watching.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Gail, thank you for the super chat. Gail says exactly both parties are very bad. Yeah, in America you have that's your advantage. You have two bad parties. In Israel you have a whole spectrum of I don't know how many dozens of them, from small parties that will never get elected but are still bad to large parties that do get elected and you see how bad they are in practice. So, can we end this on an optimistic note, Jonathan? I mean,
Um,
you can be optimistic because your guy is in power.
yeah, so far we were heading towards Rafah. If we conquer Rafah, we basically finished the job. What's left? They'll be hiding and scattered around, but if we control all the major cities, it's a victory. That's how you win a war. You capture the cities. So I think we have to grab towards something positive. Otherwise, we will go mad. So hopefully,
Somebody in the chat says, disagree, Bennett would be good. I don't know if you're disagreeing with something we said or something in the chat because I didn't get to see all the comments. Thoughts on Bennett?
I think he'll be good too. I think he'll be good. Yeah, he'll be better than Netanyahu. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Better than Netanyahu. Better than Netanyahu is such a low bar, but it is the bar. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go to the bar. And tomorrow, Jonathan, we will be back. Not you, but maybe me and somebody. People will be back on this channel with the Daily Objective. Um, and on Monday, we will also be back with the Daily Objective, and we will be talking for the whole episode as opposed to the occasional mention. The whole episode will be about Owen Jones and why when you hear us mention him, especially people who are not in the UK and don't know who that is, you should watch this. You should know, like, there's a reason why I think he's a symbol that we should talk about. He's a symbol of the evil that we see in Western support for um, Western support for the Palestinian cause, which is the extermination of the Jews, regardless of what they will tell you. So MB says, Bennett, oh, you clearly don't know him. If you want to elaborate on that in a few seconds, then we will reply and explain why. Look, again, when you say Bennett would be better than Netanyahu, it's not you say this is the ideal prime minister. Um it's basically of the choices that seem like they might be possible. By the way, Feiglin is not possible. He's not in parliament.
We might be surprised. We won't be surprised. We thought Bentir was not possible, and now he has 11 seats. So
Well, he's not possible in the immediate future because he's not in the Knesset, and you have to be a member of Knesset. So he's not possible before at least the next election. Um, so Oh, yeah. MB says he partnered with the Arab parties. He betrayed his people. I mean, yeah, the fact that Bennett, this is a very weird coalition that Bennett led. The fact that somebody with 6 or 7 seats in parliament in a 120 seat parliament is leading was weird on its own. The fact that this right-wing person had a anti-Zionist party, anti-Israel party in his coalition is also weird. Um,
it was quite inventive. I think it was quite original. It's quite creative. I think so. So give him points for creativity, and the way he expressed himself after October 7th was much more radical than Netanyahu. What he offered to do. So that's why I would choose Bennett.
Feiglin believes in a two-state solution. Is that where? I don't know where. This is a comment in the
Feiglin
chat.
believes in a one-state solution.
Yeah, I absolutely.
I
I'm
have
sure
copies
that.
of his platform. It clearly states that it's
Yeah.
for one state. So a very good solution, by the way. Very good.
Yeah. Feiglin's platform, by the way, when he ran was a book, which
Yeah, 350 pages,
yeah,
which
that's
most of it is good. Which is pretty good.
yeah. One state, Israel, Douglas says, I agree with you on that. That is a positive, optimistic note that we can end on. Whether or not that remains to be the case, we'll see, but we'll keep doing what we can to make sure that is the case. And if you agree and think this content is valuable, do consider sharing it, liking it, commenting helps with the algorithm, and of course, becoming a member and supporting our work. Thank you, Jonathan. We will see you later this week on the reality show.
Thank you very much.
And I will be back, if not tomorrow, then for Monday's episode about Owen Jones. I wouldn't miss that. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.